Hey, Satanico here once again for God Loves Comics, and I have a huge haul here today of 2 whole comics. One is a big character key that I keep buying, and one is sort of an artist key, which is not so common these days, but this one seems to hold its value, and I'm usually able to resell it. So let's get right to it. And there are a couple of lessons and anomalies here that I just want to point out, which is why I'm focusing on these 2 issues. And this is Detective Comics 404, a comic I've never owned in my life throughout all of my years of collecting until recently, in which I've bought 3 copies of it. When I started sort of buying up some Neal Adams Detective Comics, this was one of the covers I really liked. I love the red, I love the Enemy Ace motif, I love the fact that it's by Neal Adams. It's a tribute to Joe Kubert, the legend, the master, whose career goes way back to the Golden Age, even working for EC Comics. And it's worth noting, I was just listening to the Steve Bissett interview with cartoonist Kayfabe, and he went to the Kubert School, as did, I believe, Ed Piscor. And he was talking about Joe Kubert just inking multiple covers in a night, letting a couple of the prize students, which was Bissett and Rick Veitch, and a couple of others watch him, and the fact that Kubert would have pins in both hands and brushes behind his ears, and actually could draw with both his right and his left hand, which is just extraordinary. But he was ambidextrous as an artist, and so was another teacher there, Rick Estrada. So that was a pretty incredible story. But that's part of the value here. You've got Neal Adams, a beautiful Neal Adams cover that I think everyone seems to like, and then you've got Neal Adams interior art as well. So I had purchased a copy of this a few months back for $27, and it came, well, that's including shipping. It came with an issue of $3.98, which is just a Neal Adams cover, and that was a relatively low-grade issue. And 404 was probably a fine. It was probably about 5.0, 6.0. But for that $27, I resold 404 for $55. So that's a good deal. I sold it on Facebook. I immediately went back online and found another copy. Some of the copies were listed for over $100, even in just like 7.0s, and some were in the $70, $80 range. I found this copy for, I believe, I was a best offer for $24. So right away, another great deal. I was like, okay, I paid $24 for this. If I can sell it for $40, $50, then I've already doubled my money yet again, so I'd go from like just a $30 profit to reinvesting the money and making a $60 profit off 2 comics instead of just 1. But the anomaly here was, although this is a really nice copy, I mean, it certainly has some flaws. You can see there's a small color break increase there and a little blunting on the corner there. A little discoloration here, but the cover is really smooth. Of course, it's got some spline checks, but you're looking at probably a 6.0 at the very least. But then there was something that the seller did not list and did not mention and was not shown in the pictures. And he did show interior pictures of the Neal Adams story, so he did crack it open. He did show some scans. There's some of the Neal Adams art. Great profile there. And here is the issue. And it comes not anywhere in the Neal Adams story, but all across the Gil Kane Batgirl story in the backup. And it is blatantly obvious. See the black streaks. Black streak here. Black streak here. And it crosses, several pages. Not noticeable there, surprisingly. And rearing its ugly head once again on the letters page, and to a much smaller degree over here. But it is a printing error, apparently, that actually does affect the story. Printing errors typically are not nearly this egregious, and also typically I don't think they affect value too much. The saving grace of this is that it is only on the Gil Kane story, and I love Gil Kane. I adore Gil Kane, and the artwork is still actually really nice here. But for the most part, I think Gil Kane's kind of phoning this in because it's just a Batgirl sort of backup, and I think he's being inked by Joe Gaella. So yeah, but still, I was afraid it probably damaged the value. I'm not really sure, but in retrospect, even though I talked to the seller and I mentioned maybe getting a little bit off on it, I heard back from him and he asked me what was fair. I told him maybe $10, or if or maybe he could take 15 off of one other detective he had for sale, and then I didn't hear back from him. I believe I had already left feedback when I opened it without actually looking inside, which was a big mistake. But the point is that in retrospect, I can still get $24 for this comic, for sure. So I didn't lose any money on it. I think it was a little bit disingenuous, certainly of the seller. Maybe he didn't notice it, but seems kind of unlikely they didn't notice it. And it's very noticeable if he had flipped through more than just the Neal Adams story. But nevertheless, I still think I'm going to sell this for about $50. And, obviously, unlike the previous seller, I actually will upload pictures of that ink streaking, but at the very least, I'll get my money back for it. So here's the next issue, and here comes another little bit of a caveat. And now, this is another one. I sold an issue of this for $70 recently, and I paid $30 for it, which was a real steal, because it's a pretty big modern key. Let's take this down so it doesn't get any damage. And so I came across this. I'm opening it right now. It's in the Gemini mailer, as you can see. And here's the surprise for me. It's almost like it's slabbed, but it's not actually slabbed. It's in plastic casing. And there it is, or it's a heavy, heavy-duty Mylar. There it is, a Batman 357. Now, this one looked fantastic. He had it listed for $50, but he also gave the best offer option. I offered $35. My eyes kind of lit up, and I offered $35 looking at it because he only had it pictured, 2 pictures, and in both cases they were in the bag. The first one was in the bag, and the second one was in a bag inside this plastic casing, which I didn't notice this plastic casing. This is the first time I'm seeing it. But in both cases, I mean, it's not the best picture. It always looks better in the bag. But I got excited. I made an offer and got it. And only to read further in the listing, we've all made this mistake. I don't make it often, but it said water damage. And it's like, But it still looks like a really good issue. It's hard to tell. There was no way to see water damage and so he had it listed as a 4.0. There was no way to see water damage in the pictures, and I'm still not seeing water damage here. And it's actually a really nice copy. So the thing about this, I get it for $35. This is a major key because it's the first Jason Todd. I've talked about this before when I bought it previously, that, I was just looking for Batmans with Don Newton art, and I was surprised when I came across this one that was really expensive, and then I saw, it's a key, it's a second Robin, who cares? But I still like the fact that it had Don Newton art, but subsequently I've just recognized it as a really big key in terms of Copper Age that people really want. And Jason Todd subsequently became like a big anti-hero, the Red Hood, so that's added to the appeal. But now let's get the big reveal and see just how recognizable the water damage is. One way or the other, looking at this in the bag, I don't think I'll have any problem at least making my money back on it, so I'm not too worried. but I can see. The water damage is going to be mostly on the back cover. And there it is. You can see, definitely see it. Some of this could be pressed out pretty easily. I mean, you can't fix water damage per se, but in terms of, you just got some bumpiness there. You also have a major crease right here, but back cover, not such a bad deal. And it doesn't seem to go beyond the back cover. It doesn't seem to affect the pages. So I think that's a big plus. It's a little bit difficult to even recognize this as water damage, but there's a little bit of staining here from almost like a date stamp, but I don't think there was a date stamp on this given the time period. And then front cover, completely unaffected, still very nice. Interior pages, I think, still very nice. And it has this glossy ad inside. See the beautiful Don Newton art. I don't see any. I'm just wondering if the pages near the back cover are damaged, but I just don't see any evidence of it. There's a little the crease here though on the letters page. Yeah. So yeah, the only damage seems to be on the back. Got this crease here, this crease down here. I don't know, you can't see a cup ring, but I don't know if somebody spilled a little something on there. But I don't think that devalues the comic terribly. They have it listed as a 4.0. I would say at least a 5.0, given that the cover looks fantastic. It certainly has. It's not perfect. It's got a couple of ticks. But without that back cover issue, I mean, is this a... it's a little, I can't tell. It's more of an indent than anything. Not even an indent, but it's just kind of an imprint. But is this a 6.5? Is this a 7? I mean, I think so. So, because it presents so nicely, because the issue is on the back cover, and because it does not affect the pages, I'm very happy with it. And one other thing I want to add, and can I sell this for $70? I would bet the farm that I could sell this for $70. It may take a little bit of patience, but I don't think it's going to be difficult at all. This is a book that is selling for $150, $200, even around and I saw one just recently, and it was actually slabbed, and I think it was an 8.0, and it only sold for something like 83 or something, and I sold my unslabbed 6.0 for 70. So, and that was with a best offer. I had it listed for, I think, 89 or something. Not trying to rip people off. It's just it is a big and very much sought after key. I have a higher grade issue that I keep in my collection now. It's probably about a 9.2. And so this is what I got here. And one other thing I wanted to add was how crazy UPS has gotten. USPS, I should say, not UPS. U.S. Postal Service. They've gone fucking insane. The tracking on this book showed that it shipped from New Jersey to a city in my state of South Carolina. And it was due to arrive on the 21st of July. It arrived yesterday, which was the 28th. Now, it shipped to my state in South Carolina, and then suddenly it shipped out to Illinois, New Jersey to South Carolina to Illinois. And that's where it was tracked. And then it shipped to 2 different USPS locations in Illinois. And then it made 2 stops there before it shipped back to my state. And I had already spoken to the dealer saying, well, I have no idea what's going on with this tracking. And if that's the case, it has to be the most inefficient shipping ever, which explains why USPS is something like $60 billion in debt. Explains why my order of Red Sonja #1 which was going to sell alongside one of my copies of Conan 24, strangely was delivered to Denver, and the seller never figured out what happened, so he just refunded me, and he sent me a free copy of Red Sonja number 2, which has not that much value, but beautiful Frank Thorne art. So I really enjoy looking at that. I'll probably scan some and put it up on the GLC Facebook page. But the point is that who knows whether the seller actually screwed up and addressed my books to Denver, or whether this crazy tracking and crazy USPS. Apparently USPS is trying to, the federal government is currently trying to devalue USPS to the point where it loses consumer confidence, and it can be sold off and privatized, which would, I think, be a disaster. But given that they're being successful so far in making their service the worst it's ever been, privatization suddenly looks like a good option, which is exactly what they want us to think. But anyway, this is the 2-issue haul. I've blabbed on too long. Please subscribe, hit the notification bell, because my videos come out very sporadically and they'll just completely fall off your radar otherwise. And I'll see you next time with more comic hauls and readings from God Loves Comics. Love you. Bye.